This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody. Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
That's because of Brandon Staley. Doesn't matter how he's designing it. The situation he's putting them in is bad.
I knew we were going to go here.
Yeah, because you're not going to come on and defend the worst coach in the league. I'm just not going to let you do that.
22.
I'm not going to let you do that, he says.
And I didn't.
You didn't let me do that. That's fair. And I look, Brandon Staley's defense shut out the New England Patriots last week. I don't know if you knew that, Alex. That happened. Worst coach in the league pitched a shutout on your home turf. How's that feel?
Well, he didn't coach a very good game.
How's that feel?
I would say.
How did he not coach a good game? He won.
The offense put up 6 points with one of the best quarterbacks in the league and their top wide receiver. I was not impressed by Kellen Moore.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I was not impressed by Kellen Moore. You got me in a corner here.
I did because he beat the Patriots.
He made a lot of bad
right down the hall.
He made a lot of bad in-game coaching decisions. The game plan was good, and Khalil Mack was great, and I think he's gotten a ton out of Khalil Mack. But that challenge on the deflected pass, What are you doing, dude?
Yeah, that was weird.
The hell's going on?
Even if it was deflected, it has to be so obviously deflected for it to get overturned.
Intellectual consistency. Do you remember what was the game earlier? I think it was the Dolphins game. It was one of the first games of the year where Bill challenged a fourth down spot call.
Yeah.
And I came on here and I said, even if he's right, you don't challenge that because it never, ever gets overturned.
Yeah.
That's fair. Deflected at the line, unless the guy bats it straight down and they miss it, never gets overturned.
Yeah, that's
Staley.
fair.
This is what Brandon Staley does, though. Every time.
Why did we get on this?
Every single time, because you wanted to get me wound up to start the day.
True.
Every single time Brandon Staley is in that corner and it's about to be it, he pulls one out and saves his job and buys another 3 weeks.
He pulls it out, doesn't he?
It lined up perfectly for him to pull one out here, and now he's probably going to make it through the season. And I guess we'll see what happens in the offseason. But that roster is so talented. Can we please get them some real leadership?
The Chargers are one of those teams, and this is not Chargers Catch-22, so we'll get to the Patriots in a second, but the Chargers are one of those teams that does tend to get hot down the stretch. And this is what always saves Brandon Staley or the guys before him's jobs, right, is because down the stretch they'll win like 5 straight games where they'll catch some breaks and they'll play a Patriots team that stinks and all this other thing, and all of a sudden they're 9-8 and they're going to the playoffs.
Right.
And that's the Chargers in a nutshell. But it's Evan Lazar, it's Alex Barth with you for the next couple hours here on Patriots Catch-22. Full house here today. Full house. We have all 3 shows on our radio airwaves. We have Catch-22, Unfiltered, Playbook. Scott Zolak's in the other studio next door here doing 98.5. A little crossover for you, Alex. You got your brethren over there. So full studio for Marine Matt, who is running around like a crazy person right now. And we will give you, Alex, I'm giving you 3 minutes. Can you narrow Army-Navy down in 3 minutes?
That's it? 5.
We'll see. 5 minutes on Army-Navy at the end of the show. All right?
I think it's only fair.
Okay, it is only fair. Good company man over here. We can talk about Army-Navy for 5 minutes. But here, I want to start with the Patriots. I do want to start on a positive note, and if you want to call in 855-PATS-500, webradio@patriots.com. We can talk draft. We can talk big picture. I know that's what's on a lot of your folks' minds. So go ahead and give us a call, and we'll talk about all of it. But I want to start about this Chargers game and look back as we always do. And I do want to start with the positive and give some flowers to the Patriots defense, which you said intellectual consistency.
Yeah.
I did not come on here after the Giants and Colts game and praise the Patriots defense for some great performance. I didn't, because I try to be as objective, but also I tried to wait for an actual good performance to crown somebody, right? I don't want to give you credit for Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess now, throwing some bad throws, some missed reads, things like that down the field, which I thought took away some big plays and some points for the Giants in that game. It felt like those games, there was a lot more coverage breakdowns. There wasn't a ton of great defensive coverage, secondary play. J.C. Jackson was getting burned in that Giants game. That did not feel to me like a great defensive performance against the Giants.
And I think we said that next day.
Yeah, and the Colts too. I thought in a lot of ways, Gardner Minshew's got that wheel route down the sideline in Germany, and the tight end, he drops it. Right, and there was drops in this game too, and the conditions played a factor, and all that kind of stuff is no doubt about that. But in this game, I thought that the Patriots defense had probably their best day in coverage that they've had all season long. They were really tied together on the back end in this game. They had a really great plan for Keenan Allen, and it was nice to see a Belichick defense take out a number one receiver and force a quarterback to beat them, throw into the other guys. And this Charger offense is that to a T. Keenan Allen has like 100 more catches than anybody else on the Chargers. So they're a one-man show in the passing game. And the Patriots did a lot of different things, whether it was zone, playing cloud coverage with one guy over him and one guy underneath, or some brackets, double teams, things like that. They did an excellent job of forcing Justin Herbert to beat them, throwing to Quentin Johnson, Guyton, his tight ends, the other guys in this offense. And those other guys didn't make plays until Alex Erickson at the very end of the game against Myles Bryant. But I thought this was their best game in coverage all year, and I know the pass rush wasn't great. It was about a 28% pressure rate is what I had it at. But I thought the strategy, they executed the game plan as a pass rush. I don't think this was a rush plan. They did not come into this game planning on going after Justin Herbert and teeing off on Justin Herbert. I thought what they really wanted to do was get him unsettled in the pocket, make him move a little bit off his spots here and there, and make him go through the progression. And Keenan Allen's not there. I have to hit number 2. I have to hit number 3. I have to get to my check down. And they were able to do that for most of this game. So I think that needs to be said. And lastly, just to tie a bow on it, I'm more and more coming towards the take of I would like to see Gerard Mayo back next year to run this defense in some capacity. And I know that that's kind of a cop-out because it does feel like it's either head coach or nothing for Gerard Mayo. But I think there is a world where if they hire, let's just use a name, Ben Johnson as their next head coach, that Gerard is promoted officially to defensive coordinator and has the title of defensive coordinator next season with the Patriots. And I look at how hard this defense is playing. Say what you will about the execution against the Colts, against the Giants, against the Commanders, how they are playing their tails off for a 2-10 team on defense.
Yeah, no, these guys are still playing with a ton of pride.
Yeah. And that, I think, talking to players, the conversations I've had with guys, I think that comes from Gerard. I do. I think he's, one player said to me, he's the alpha in the room. Like he walks into the room, he gets to the front of the room, and guys are in.
They respect him.
They respect him. They respect him. They're bought into him. They want to play hard for him because they don't want to leave him out to dry in terms of his job and his future in this league. And I also think there's a lot of guys in that room that feel like Gerard Mayo could be the next guy here. And if he's your head coach next year, then you want to put good film and you want to put good habits together because he might be the one making the roster decisions on this team about who stays and who goes on the defensive side of the ball. So I think there's a lot of pride, like you said. I think there's a lot of respect. And I still lean towards the fact that I would probably prefer the Ben Johnson route, that whether it's Ben Johnson or another offensive-minded guy, I would probably prefer that route in terms of head coach. But I think that there's really something to be said for keeping the continuity on the defensive side of the ball, keeping the leadership on the defensive side of the ball, because clearly the way those guys are playing, there's not a leadership problem on defense.
No.
Those guys are playing hard. They're playing for each other. They're clued into game plans, and they're keeping them in games right now because this offense is an absolute train wreck, and the defense is the only reason why they're even close to competitive in some of these games. They've been in a bunch of one-score games lately, and that is strictly in my mind because the defense has been keeping them together.
Yeah, I think some continuity on the defense would be fantastic on the defensive coaching staff. I think with the unit, you're pretty much going to have everybody back.
Right.
Because Josh, as well as the defense as a whole have played, you look at the guys on expiring contracts, I would not say Josh Uche has been a big part of it.
No.
I would not say Kyle Duggar has been involved, but
I thought this was one of Duggar's best games.
This was one of his better games, but you could just as easily, I think, move on from him, play Jabril Peppers in the box, get a true free safety, and have similar results. And that's not me saying get rid of Kyle Duggar, but I'm saying, like, if they do, Anthony Jennings, I think will be back just because I don't think he'll cost a lot of money. So you're going to have the same group back, essentially, on defense. You're going to have the same personnel.
And you're going to add Gonzalez and Judon.
And you're going to add Gonzalez and Judon Wright for the full year, which even helps. The needs aren't a ton. Again, a free safety, like a rotational Jason McCourty-type boundary corner, a rotational edge rusher.
Yeah.
It's just about keeping some consistency on the coaching staff. And obviously, if that's Gerard Mayo, that's excellent in whatever capacity. And I love the idea of him being promoted to DC. You know, if Bill Belichick leaves, what happens with Steve? I think that's a question. Does Steve stay here? Because, and I'm somebody who was critical of Steve when he first kind of got the big, you know, when he's the linebackers coach, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Steve's become a very good football coach.
He's a good play caller.
Steve, so, you know, if Steve's still here, what happens? If he leaves, is it Mayo? Maybe it's Steve staying. Maybe Mayo leaves, and even if Bill leaves, Steve becomes the DC.
Oh, I can't see that happening.
No? Okay.
Not if they fire his dad and him staying. I mean,
I'm just covering all the bases. I'm with you, but I'm just covering all the bases.
Yeah.
The other one, let's say they hire, again, to use your name, Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Steve leaves, and Mayo says, you know what? I'm going to go be a head coach. Somebody offers him. Maybe the Panthers come back and say, we missed you last year. Come on down.
Right.
Work with Bryce Young. DeMarcus Covington is the first guy I would call. He got some defensive coordinator calls last year. All the players in that room speak incredibly highly, not just the linemen. He's the defensive line coach. Not just the linemen. All the players on defense speak incredibly highly of DeMarcus Covington. I can't imagine he's going to get any head coaching looks. I just think he's too young. He's too inexperienced.
He's still a step or two away.
Right. He'll get them eventually, but not this year. So if the best he's going to get is defensive coordinator anyway, and he can get it here where he doesn't have to move his family and, you know, he has a group he likes, I think that would be a no-brainer for him. So they should be able to, no matter what happens, keep continuity on the defensive side of the ball in terms of the coaching staff. Yeah. Whether it's Mayo, whether it's Covington, they should do it, and they should want to do it, because the other thing, when you look at the picture of the offseason, right, they have, I mean, you can go through all the needs on offense. We don't need to. We've done it a million times. We'll do it a million more times. The to-do list is a long one. You don't want to have to change your defensive scheme, and now suddenly, you know, all right, well, Gonzalez isn't really a fit for what we want to do. Now we need to go get a new number one corner.
Right.
Well, none of these linebackers fit our new scheme. Now we need to overhaul our linebacker room. You already have too much to do on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
If you keep playing this defense, again, there's three needs on defense to me that are all, I wouldn't say they're all small needs. The free safety, I wouldn't mind if they use premium asset. Not the first round pick, but like a decent investment in a free safety. But you can go get an edge rusher, guy like Patrick Payton out of Florida State on early day 3 of the draft. You're probably good.
Or even like, you know, just to, if Keon White develops into that
right,
guy.
or maybe Keon White develops into that guy.
Yeah,
I think they need another speed rusher, but
that's fair.
Or like you can go get some. What Marcus Peters signed for, like 1 year, $8 million. You get a guy like that, he's your third boundary corner.
And I hate to say it, and it's nothing that so the thing about Uche, I actually believe that his effectiveness when he rushes the passer has not waned, even though the sacks haven't been there this year. But and I've spoke to him a little bit about this. I think he's trying really hard to play more within the framework of the defense this year and be that sturdy edge guy that's not giving up the edge, is not letting the quarterback out of the pocket. And as much as that's, I think he's in the coach's eyes, I guess let me put you this way. In the coach's eyes, I wouldn't be surprised if the coaches think that Uche's having a great year. But that the year he's having isn't going to get him paid on the open market. So for Uche, either a team is going to come in and say, 2 years ago you were an 11.5 sack guy, we're going to put you in a position just to rush the passer, and we're going to get double-digit sacks out of you every year, so we're comfortable paying you, let's call it $12, $14 million a year. Or the rest of the league is going to say, situational pass, same thing the Patriots are going to say, right? Situational guy, didn't really do much except for one season, and he's not going to get that big payday. So I'm not ready to write Uche off, I guess is what I'm saying, as a future Patriot, simply because I don't know what the market is going to look like for him in free agency, given the fact that he hasn't really had the production this year that he had last year. If he had stacked another year of like 8, 9, 10 sacks onto what he had last year, then yeah, he was going to be a $15-16 million player in free agency. Now I don't know what he's going to get. I think it's a complete wild card in how teams view him. But in general, I just look at this defense, and I was really impressed with the performance on Sunday. I thought that was their best coverage performance. I thought they were on top of everything. I thought they played really tight coverage. Like even the throws, I know a lot of people are talking about the drops that the Chargers had. They had 2 big drops on third down. They had one by the tight end, Parham, and on Jalen Mills. And then they had one, Quentin Johnson obviously dropped that pass on that crossing route from J.C. Jackson. But if you go back and watch those 2 plays, the coverage is pretty tight. Like, there's guys there.
Yeah.
And Justin Herbert has to put the ball in like a certain spot to get
the throw to Parham's an awesome throw.
Yeah, and the throw to Quentin Johnston, J.C. Jackson undercuts it, so he flashes across Quentin Johnston's face as he's trying to catch the ball along the sideline. Those are at least challenged catches. It's not like guys were wide open downfield
running all alone,
and just dropped it.
And I'll say this, the Parham one is probably a touchdown if he catches it. There's nobody behind him.
Maybe, I don't know, because he stops and like opens up to that side, and I think.
But if he keeps his momentum going around, like he catches it and he's running,
maybe.
He's off.
Jalen Mills, I think, would have had a chance to tackle.
Maybe.
Whether he tackles him or not, who knows?
But here's my point. Let's say those 2 drops don't happen. Those 2 drives end in touchdowns because people are saying, "Oh, it was raining and they were bad, and that's why the defense was good."
Yeah.
All right, both those drives end in touchdowns. The rest of the game goes the way it was. You allowed 20 points in the modern NFL. That's still a pretty good defensive effort, especially against that team.
Yeah, they came in averaging almost 25 points a game.
Right.
So they held them to 6. Even if you want to say 16 to 20 without the drops, you're still holding them below their season average. And they low key kind of own Herbert. Like they kind of do. I think with Herbert, look, he made some really, really great throws in this game. And the 2 throws that he made on the 2 drops were great throws as well. But I think with him, the Patriots, it's almost a little bit like what they've done with like early career Josh Allen at times. The Patriots are confident in some ways that Herbert's not going to be able to just stand there and dice them up. Like he'll make some individually great throws like he did on Sunday, and he'll make like 5 to 10 awesome quarterback plays per game. But is he going to be able to throw that 25 times against the defense? And if we have tight coverage and we don't let him extend plays and we don't let him turn it into playground football and just be an athlete and make throws on the move, and we keep him in the pocket, we make him go through the progression, is he going to consistently make throws on us against 7 guys in coverage? And in this game, they had some drops. They had some, unfortunate stuff from Herbert's perspective, sure. But I thought that they got him again in that sense. Like this, they didn't blitz a whole lot in this game. This was let's rush 4, let's drop 7 into coverage. We're going to help to Keenan Allen. We're going to force him to one-on-ones to guys that we trust. Like Kyle Duggar against Donald. I like Donald Parham.
You do. He's the only spring football player you've ever liked.
But the Patriots will take that matchup. They'll take Kyle Duggar versus Donald Parham one-on-one. They'll take Quentin Johnston against J.C. Jackson because Quentin Johnston, predictably, doesn't have any hands. Like, it just has stone hands. And that's, what you saw coming out of college, too, was big ball skills issues, contested throws, tracking footballs, things like that. And I just thought this was a really good performance, and I wanted to put it out there with the saying I didn't crown him last week and against the Colts. So don't call in here and be like, those performances were all fake or all fluff or whatever. The Colts and the Giants, they did not cover well in those games. I thought they covered really well in this game, and I think that they deserve the credit for it. Just quickly on the offense, because we're going to talk about the offense, I'm sure, for the next hour and a half in different ways. I think the biggest issue that I have now at the offense, Alex, and I'm wondering, we haven't really talked about this a whole lot. And I think last year at times we made Mac Jones a little bit of a sacred cow and kind of excused him for some of the things because of Matt Patricia. I don't want to do the same thing with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, at this point, we need to talk about Bill O'Brien because they are having a historically bad offensive season. This is the lowest scoring output the Patriots have put out, 12.5 points per game or 12.3 or whatever it is, since the Rod Rust year.
Shout out Rod Rust.
Which is probably the worst year in franchise history in terms of the Patriots. They were 1-15 with Rod Rust as the one-and-done head coach. And by all accounts, that's the worst year in Patriots history.
They've already doubled that win total this year.
Yeah, so they are having an historically bad season in terms of offense for this team. And when I watch their film on offense, they are not a functional NFL offense at this point, to the point where not only have they dumbed down a lot of the things, like they're just running these like high school concepts with two receivers running go routes on the outside and Bailey Zappe just chucking it to Devontae Parker. Like, that's not NFL offense. Like, forget about all of like the screens on third down. No team in the NFL right now runs more screens on third and long than the Patriots. When the Patriots get into 3rd and 10, they don't even try to throw the ball downfield. They're just screen to Devontae Parker and let's punt the ball.
Is that a 3rd and 10 thing, or like how many teams throw more screens on 2nd down or on 1st down? They just throw a lot of screens. I don't think it's situation dependent.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you that's
no. I believe it, but I'm telling you, I bet if you said that's on 3rd and 10, I'm telling you look up 3rd and 4 or look up 2nd and 6 or look up
they throw
1st and 10.
They throw probably as many screen passes as anybody in the league.
That's what I'm saying.
But the point being that on 3rd down,
yes,
the fact that they're throwing that many screens on anything that's basically above 3rd and 5, they just concede those downs. They concede them. Their offensive line play is once again an issue. It was an issue against the Colts. I thought it was okay against the Giants, and now it's an issue again this week. I don't know who was out there at right tackle. That was not Mike Onwenu.
No, it was his worst game of the year. I mean, look, Khalil Mack found a time machine or something, because
he's a good player.
Let's tip our cap to, and this isn't to excuse Mike Onwenu. He did not have a good game, but those guys get paid too. Let's tip our cap to Khalil Mack. He had a great game, but you can't have that kind of performance from Mike Onwenu and win. That's what you were getting from, Calvin Anderson and Vidarian Lowe early in the year, and we saw how that went. And if Onwenu's going to play at that level, they're going to have massive problems. On O'Brien, I agree with you. It feels like maybe his offense at its core was too complex.
Yeah.
And he's overcorrected. And we heard the reports over the summer after Bailey Zappe was cut that part of the issue was he couldn't comprehend Bill O'Brien's offense, and I think that's probably what you're seeing the results of that now, where O'Brien can't necessarily run what he wants to run.
Yeah, because, not to cut you off, but to that point, Mac was so broken that was out the window towards the end with Mac.
Right.
And they're running the slants and the screens and the two-man concepts down the field because Mac was mentally just broken. And now they've gone to a quarterback in Bailey Zappe who probably just mentally can't handle that, regardless of how his poise and all the things that we talked about with Mac.
And this isn't that's not to excuse Bill O'Brien. The point is, last year with Matt Patricia, it's not so much we criticize Matt Patricia individually, but the bigger point, and I think this got across to some, it didn't get across to all, was you have a guy who doesn't know what he's doing in the role. He was a defensive coach. Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing. He's an offensive coach. He should be able to figure out, and he's a good one, he should be able to figure out a happy medium between an offense that only Tom Brady could handle mentally and the Madden playbook.
Yeah.
There should be some sort of happy medium between there, and he just jumped from one to the other, and that's what you're seeing now. Is it's just you're almost back to the offense Patricia was running, where there aren't a ton of route. It times up better. Like, some of the logistical issues aren't there, but you're not seeing route combinations. You're not seeing setup plays and shot plays. It's just they're calling simple concepts to call simple concepts. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. There's no play sequencing. It's, again, like it's like Madden. There's 3 plays up there. You press X, A, or B, right? And that's what it is. They're going shark wheel, or they're going 4 verts, or they're going like any of the pick a Madden play now.
There's not another offense in the NFL, and I watch this, not to like toot my own horn, but I watch a lot of offensive football. I watch 3 offenses a week, right? Because I watch the Patriots offense, I watch the opponent's offense, and then I watch the next opponent's offense, right? So I'm watching, or 4, I guess, because I'm watching the other opponent's offense. I'll get to that in a second, because we have to revisit something about last week and about the Steelers' opponent on offense last week.
Who did the Steelers play last week?
Think about it for a second and come back to me.
The Cardinals. All right.
Yeah. So the big thing, I watch 4 offenses a week. I do not see another offense in the NFL at this level of football doing 2 things. 1, play action from under center with 2 go routes on the outside. That's it. That's the whole concept, is just 2 go routes, and just Bailey Zappe, you pick which go route you like better. Maybe it's where the safety's tilting, or maybe you just like that matchup a little bit better, and we're just going to throw a jump ball to Devontae Parker. That doesn't exist elsewhere in the NFL. The NFL is a speed and space league now, and scheme is related to space. Everything that gets designed in the league now is about getting fast guys the ball in space, and not in just Tyquan Thornton just run a 9 and see what happens, right? We're talking about actually scheming up opportunities to run into space and to run into pockets around the field. The other thing, in the second half of this game, Bill O'Brien was calling plays at the line of scrimmage from the sideline, college style. He had Bailey Zappe go to the line of scrimmage. O'Brien was doing all of the pre-snap stuff for Bailey Zappe. Like, Bailey Zappe go to the line of scrimmage, and then, in college when all 11 guys look over to the sideline and they're holding up the boards. I thought that they were going to bring out whiteboards for a second.
Felger went on a rant about this the other day. It was funny.
So I thought they were going to bring out boards for a second.
Clap offense?
Yeah, that's literally what. Well, you can't clap in the NFL, but that's besides the point. I
like the clap offense.
The clap in the NFL is a false start.
I know it is, but it looks cool.
So that's where we were at in the second half, and Bailey Zappe's individual performance, and just in terms of his quarterback play, was better than what they were getting from Mac Jones at the end, simply because he wasn't a puddle and he wasn't turning the ball over like crazy.
Right.
But with that being said, if they go out there against Pittsburgh tomorrow night, and I get it's a short week, so it's a difficult week to add more to Bailey Zappe's plate. But if they go out there tomorrow night against Pittsburgh and they run the same offense that they did against the Chargers, I seriously think that with the 10 days in between games, you have to consider going back. I do, because this is high school. Like, they're running this offense down at Foxborough High.
Okay, well, where's Malik Cunningham? Because I think we all thought, all right, Bailey Zappe will be able to move the ball better than Mac Jones because of what you said. Like, he's not broken.
Yeah.
But I think everybody got excited. Okay, and then they'll put Malik Cunningham in when they need to change it up and when they need that kind of spark, and they never did it. So I think that goes to your point of, all right, if you want to run the same offense, fine, run the same. And I think they're going to run the same offense, and I don't know how you feel, but I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
Can I get a Malik Cunningham option play mixed in there at least to provide a spark or something?
I think that's the part that is also so crazy about the Malik thing, is that this offense is so stripped down that he could run this offense. Like, so Malik Cunningham can't throw a slant. Like, he could easily.
Well, he wasn't practicing a quarterback for a month and a half, so who knows where his timing's at with the receivers.
But he could easily run this offense from like a mental, schematic standpoint.
Yes.
He was doing more, honestly, from a drop back perspective at Louisville. And so it just, this is 2 years in a row now where we're having the same conversation about how the offense is not NFL caliber. It's not designed like an NFL offense. It's not executed like an NFL offense. And they don't have a quarterback that's an NFL starting quarterback. And at some point, you have to have people that are held accountable for this. And I know technically Matt Patricia was held accountable for what happened last year. But
his contract expired.
In general, it's higher up than Matt Patricia at this point. And I know we're all pointing at the same guy because it's his football operations.
Yep. He said you put that responsibility on me. I forget the exact words, but something like that.
It just, I can't watch it anymore. I can't watch a high school offense in the NFL. I can't watch receivers that can't get open, and the one guy that can't get open in Tyquan Thornton drops the ball when he does get open. And they have 3 guys running routes in this offense, and Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hunter Henry that wear coverage. They are constantly covered. And the only option for the quarterback is just to throw into a tight window and hope the guy makes a play on the ball. Whether it's a jump ball down the field or it's a dig route over the middle. And you saw that, the one play that was almost intercepted that Bailey Zappe threw in that game was because he had to throw a tight window pass to Devontae Parker. It was very, very similar play and concept to the pick that Mac threw against the Commanders at the end of the game. And this is just what we're doing over and over and over again. And if they don't completely revamp that side of the football, then I don't know what we're doing here. I really seriously don't understand what we're doing here. It's frustrating to watch. I can't do it anymore. I can't continue to pull up film on this offense and watch them look like an absolute joke on that side of the football. And it has to be put that way because it's that strong. Like, they are the worst offense in football. They're the worst offense in the league. Like, at least with the Panthers, you see these individual flashes with Bryce Young. Right. Where, okay, if they put this kid in a better situation and they put some things around him, like, he'll be okay. I don't know if he's ever going to be better than C.J. Stroud, and they might have made the wrong pick there. But they did. But he's going to be better than what he's shown so far in the league.
Sure.
They don't have any semblance of that. They have no hope. Bryce Young provides the Panthers with hope. If they hire a good offensive coach, he'll be fine. The Patriots don't have any sort of hope. And I think with Bailey Zappe, just to wrap it on this, Bailey Zappe played better than Mac in a lot of ways because of the reasons I mentioned. But there's still so many instances where you just notice that arm talent, physical ability, it's not NFL starting caliber. And he's got some good footwork and like ability to get out of pressure, and like he's a decent mover, and Mac's got cement feet. Like, Mac gets stuck at the top of the drop and just kind of hangs there, and that's why he gets killed sometimes. Bailey Zappe can move around a little bit, but he doesn't have any ability to throw off platform, so him moving around what does it do you? He can scramble like he did on that third down, but if he moves around and then he has to make a throw on the move, we saw Hunter Henry wide open coming across the field on that throw early on in the game, and he throws it, 3 yards behind him. Right. Like, he doesn't have the arm talent to make something happen once he gets outside the pocket. So that's a big issue with him that's holding him back. I also thought some of the decisions that he made, some of the jump balls that he threw, there were probably better options on some of those plays, shorter options, intermediate options. But in general, like, there's just so many times where he gets out of the pocket. There's one play in particular I'm thinking of where he gets out of the pocket and Juju Smith-Schuster notices that he gets out of the pocket and he's running. And Juju Smith-Schuster just turns up the field and runs down the sideline, and he's behind the defense and he's wide open. But Bailey Zappe doesn't have the arm talent to get the ball there. So he ends up just throwing the ball away. And I don't kill him for throwing the ball away because it's the right decision. And for him, that's the right decision. But if you have a quarterback, the other guy on the other side, Justin Herbert's throwing a 60-yard touchdown on that play. And those types of things are just what's holding the offense back a little bit. The fourth down play to Hunter Henry at the end of the game. Hunter Henry's open in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
But because Bailey Zappe doesn't have the arm talent to roll to his right and then off platform just flick it to the middle of the field to Hunter Henry, he's got to reset the pocket. He moves to his right, gets his feet set again, and then throws the ball. And by the time he does that, the window's closed and it's too late. Those are the little plays that, would this offense be averaging 30 points a game with a better quarterback? No. But those are the types of plays that you see on the film that get left on the field because they don't have a quarterback that can make those types of throws. And that's why we're talking about Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels and all these other guys, because those guys can make those types of throws.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd agree with you. I thought, again, Zappe's pocket presence was good. I thought his ability to extend plays was good, but he could extend the play in the pocket. He couldn't necessarily do anything once he extended it.
Yeah.
And he also didn't sense pressure. Like, he would sense it well in the pocket, but there were times where I think he was surprised by rushers, the arm talent you mentioned. Look, like, I think he's competing to be the backup next year, which you need a backup quarterback. Again, we talked about it. They have a laundry list. If all right, Bailey Zappe is going to be our backup, good. That's one less thing you have to worry about. But, yeah, I just thought as a whole, not not a ton there that you look at and you're like, wow, this is like so different. This is so much better. So
no, it wasn't at all. All right, let's do three.
There was something else you were talking about early with Parker, something, and I forget what I was gonna
just
say.
That he's never open.
I don't remember. No, it was something about something about throwing a sideline. I don't remember. Whatever. I'll say it on Patriots Beat later.
Oh, good. Thanks. Good plug, though. Good plug. Let's do three.
I plug this show on there all the time.
Let's do 3 up, 3 down, and then we'll get to the calls and the emails and everything and open it up to you guys. So let's start with ups because, we're a positive show. We started on a positive note. We're sandwiching this game right now.
No, we started with me ripping Brandon Staley.
Okay, well that's still a compliment sandwich because it's not Brandon Staley is not the Patriots head coach. So, all right, let's start with the ups. My number one up, I combined both these guys because I thought that they were both really good in this game. I agree with you that long-term free safety is still a big need.
Yeah,
and they've had their issues covering the deep part of the field this year. But Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar both played a really good game in this one.
We throw Jalen Mills in there as well.
Yeah, he was good too. Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar played great game, passing off stuff down the field. They kept the top on the defense extremely well against a really talented quarterback that can throw the ball and chuck it 80 yards if he wants to. They made impact plays near the line of scrimmage. Both those guys were really good in coverage in this game, though, and I think that's something that hasn't always been the case, especially for Duggar this year, playing a lot more center field and things like that. They had a really high-level rep in the high red zone. The one time, it was the 20-yard line. The league doesn't count that as the red zone, the 20-yard line.
Yeah, I know. It's inside the 20.
It's inside the 20. So
it's kind of like how 12 a.m. comes before 11:59 a.m., that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
It does. Think about it. 12 a.m. comes before 11:59.
Does it?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
What do you mean it comes before? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because you'd think you'd go 11:59, 12.
Well, he does these things to me, and I just have to think about it.
That's like a thing.
I don't know. No, I get you now.
That's why people use military time.
They had this play from the 20-yard line that I put in after further review that I really loved, where the number, they have a 3-by-1 side, and the number 3 receiver on the inside slot, he runs a deep over route. And Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar pass off the deep over. Jabril Peppers leverages it from the other side of the formation, and then Kyle Duggar falls off his original assignment and gets into the seam window to Keenan Allen. And Justin Herbert had to throw the outside fade on Jonathan Jones, and Jonathan Jones breaks the pass up. Right? Like that, Those types of plays of just exchanging guys in the deep part of the field and understanding where the threats are. They weren't necessarily doing that at a high level, I thought, against the Colts and the Giants. This game, they did it at a really high level. Both those guys played a little DMAC back there. They were both really good in this game.
I would just add in Peppers. I was glad to see him play most of the game. We know that guys have kind of ended up in the doghouse at times this year, and good to see.
Because of the mic'd up thing.
Because of the mic'd up thing. Yeah. Good to see that that's not that I thought it would be, but you get the confirmation there that that's not. So I thought that was good.
Yeah. Who's your first upper? I know you don't put it in order like I ask you to.
So. Yeah, it was the safeties. I thought all the safeties played very well. I guess I'll throw in Miles Bryant too.
Yeah,
he had a couple competitive plays against Keenan Allen, which is not a good matchup for him. Again, let's stop putting 5'9" corners on guys that are 6'3". I know they don't have a ton of options, but I thought Miles Bryant was also very competitive in this game.
I did too. Miles Bryant was my second up, and I know people are going to kill me for this because of the last play of the game, and he's always there when these big plays happen. He was in really tight coverage on that play, and it's a really good throw. I'm sorry, just go watch it. His hand is in the passing lane extended, and the ball just kind of grazes right past his hand and into Alex Erickson's lap. It's just a great throw by a great quarterback. He was involved in so many different coverage calls on Keenan Allen in this game, whether it was man-to-man against Keenan Allen, like you mentioned. They played a decent amount of cloud coverage where they had a guy above Keenan Allen and below him, high-lowing him to take him out of the progression. And 9 times out of 10, the guy underneath Keenan Allen was Miles Bryant. He wears a lot of different hats in this defense. He covers a lot of space in this defense. He plays a lot of different roles. He's in one of the toughest spots to play in the league. Nickel in the NFL is the hardest position to play on defense in my mind, because you have to cover inside, outside. You have to zone. You have to man. You have to run fit. You have to do so many different things from that spot that it's becoming I don't know if the league is sort of they're not reflecting it in terms of what guys are making quite yet. But I think defensive coaches that understand defensive football at a high level are understanding that having a good nickel or star or whatever you call it in your defense is probably one of the most important positions on the defense to fill. And for those reasons, Miles Bryant is one of those guys that has the intelligence on a football IQ level to wear all those different hats. So I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that Miles Bryant's good in man coverage. He gets beat a lot in man coverage. I get that, and that's a weakness of his game. But the fact is that they ask him to do so many different things, and he does them all at a decent competitive level. And in this game, he was really good. I know he got beat on the last play of the game. In my mind, that play was a really competitive play that the quarterback just made a really good throw on. And I'd also say, like, if they stop him, does it like the Patriots offense was going to score anyways? Like, the game was over. Like,
right.
the Patriots offense was in the hole and the game was over. Who else you got?
Well, I'll just say it again. I've said it before on Miles Bryant. I'll say it again. Like, he plays a valuable role for the defense. Sometimes I think they make that role a little too big, but like you said, he's asked to do a lot of things and he does most of them well.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be weird to have an offensive player, but I thought Ezekiel Elliott, had a big workload, playing hurt with Ramondre Stevenson out, and he was good. He looks like kind of like classic Zeke. He's the play he made where Zappe overthrows him on the screen, which overthrew him on a screen. But Zappe overthrows him on a screen. He goes out, bobbles the ball, catches it, quickly gets his head around, recognizes the defenders, drags two guys for the first down. Like, that's awesome play. That is awesome running back play. And I know your thing that running backs are interchangeable. Most running backs do not make the play Ezekiel Elliott made on that screen. And you would say, well, they lost the game anyway. What does it matter?
No.
In a functional offense, that kind of play helps.
He stunk in pass protection, though.
Okay, that's fair. But
he was really bad in pass protection.
Look, they need to run the ball. They need to be running the ball, and he still looks like he can run it. I know a lot of people are seeing him, and they're like, hey, like, bring him back next year, and it'll help. I don't know that it's just that easy. Like, you're getting him back next year for like 1 year, $3 million. I think he's going to be in demand next year. I think there's going to be teams that want him.
There's definitely a lot more juice with Zeke as a ball carrier than I thought there was going to be, and I like the signing. I praised the signing at the time. I thought it was a solid signing. In pass protection, assignment blown on the Derwin James sack.
Everybody blew the assignment on the Derwin James sack. It wasn't just him.
No, it was just him.
There's like 10 guys to point at him.
Yeah, but it's his responsibility. Like it's his guy.
All right, fair. I get what you're saying.
And then he got ran over on another one that he literally just got run over
by Khalil Mack.
Yeah. So that was tough. But I agree with you as a runner and as a ball carrier on screens. He's been a really good screen back. Like one of the best in terms of efficiency on screens. As much as we rag on all the screens, slip screens to Zeke Elliott has been a thing.
Look, if you're going to do it, you might as well be good at it, right?
Yeah, I agree. All right, last one for me. You hold Austin Eckler to under 2 yards per carry. I got to give a shout out to Devon Godshaw. Right. I thought Devon Godshaw was really good in this game. I talked to him after the game. Andrew Callahan did as well. I thought his comments were super candid and like finally somebody on defense is just calling a spade and saying, look, we're doing our thing on this side of the football and we can't score. And that's why we're losing games. And it's a very fair criticism of the team. He was great in this game. You single block Devon Godshaw, he wins almost every time in the run game. Double teams holding up on the double teams. Their ability to stop the run in this game was big. It really turned the Chargers into a one-dimensional team in a rainy conditions and put the game on the receivers to make catches for Herbert, which they obviously couldn't do. So I really liked that game there. They're the best run defense in the NFL. For whatever that's worth. I don't know what being the best run defense in the NFL is worth in 2023. But DVOA, number one in the league.
Yep.
EPA, number one in the league. They have the best run defense in the league. And if you're the nose tackle of the best run defense in the league, then you deserve some credit.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
Any more?
No.
Yeah, I got a long list on the other side,
okay.
so let's do that. Number one down for me. I love Mike Onwenu. I love Mike Onwenu. He's a good football player. This was his worst game I've seen as a Patriot for him. This was his worst game I've ever seen. I don't know if he was not feeling well. Like there's that bug going around the locker room. I don't know if something was going on with him. So I have that looked more like Vidarian Lowe at right tackle than it did Michael Onwenu, which is shocking to me. I think the one thing that if we're just calling it as we see it and not thinking about any of the off-field health-related things that could have been going on with him and just saying he was healthy, he was 100%, and he just stunk. I think the one thing that stood out was that Khalil Mack used a lot of inside-out, crossover type moves on him. And I think Khalil Mack on film probably said, If I can get him into some space and get him to have to move his feet and redirect and slide with me, he's a guard. And he's not going to be able to mirror me all the way out there. So Khalil Mack was rushing from like a 7 or even sometimes almost a wide 9 technique, and then he was just getting Mike Onwenu on this island, and then he has like a two-way go on him at that point. And Onwenu just didn't have the foot speed and the change of direction skill to be able to mirror him inside and outside. So Khalil Mack took his lunch money. Like, there's no doubt about that. Season-high 5 quarterback pressures allowed by Onwenu. Gave up a sack. Probably should have given up another sack, but Bailey Zappe was able to dance out of it. This was a tough watch for Onwenu, and certainly one that gives you pause about, is he a tackle? We had that conversation last week.
Right.
I don't know if he's a tackle after this game. He's going to get TJ Watt tomorrow night.
Yeah, so let's see if he bounces back. Yeah, he didn't play well. My number one down was the offensive coaching staff, and we already talked about a lot of this. I thought the game plan was vanilla. We didn't see Malik Cunningham in the game, which I thought was questionable. The decision, I guess this is a coaching staff as a whole, just not offensive. And I know people are going to be like, they're trying to lose, they're tanking, they're all about the tank. No, they're not. Bill O'Brien is not. This was supposed to be his chance to reset himself after a rough year at Alabama and get back in the head coaching position. They get the ball with 2.5 minutes to go inside their own 20. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go. You got to go down. You can win the game with a touchdown. They're huddling up. They ran the ball on 3 of the first 5 plays. They're just letting that thing tick, 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 tick until they get around midfield. And now all of a sudden there's like a minute left. Oh, we got to go. And they have Bailey Zappe throwing down the field, which is not a recipe for success. 3 incompletions in a row to end the drive. Mind-blowing.
Yeah. Mind-blowing
that they were as casual as they were at the end of that game. No, I do not believe they are in on the tank. That's not really how anything works. So I just, that, Cunningham, all of it, we covered a lot of it at the beginning. I didn't think the offensive coaching staff was good in this game.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, number 2 for me, I'm combining both left tackles, Trent Brown and Connor McDermott.
Yeah, it's fair.
Both of them are terrible in this game.
Could just done offensive line. You really wanted to have a long list.
Because the interior guys were kind of good.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, the interior. Okay. Cole Strange I thought was okay. David Andrews I thought was really good in this game. And
he had one missed block. There was one run on 3rd down where he pulled and he just ran right by the guy.
Oh, no, well, that was Cole Strange.
Was it Cole Strange?
So
okay.
I always operate. I say
you know this stuff better than me.
I say this on PU all the time. I always operate under the assumption that David Andrews is always right.
That's fair. You know what? Honestly.
So David Andrews pulls. Cole Strange, it's a pin pull, right? The guard's supposed to pin the guy inside so that Cole Strange can pull out in front of it. It's a pin pull sweep. And Cole Strange didn't pin. So the one tech just comes right through.
I trust
and I'm just the mental mistakes. I really feel this way about Cole. This was supposed to be about the tackles. I'll get back to the tackles just really quick. I really feel this way about Cole Strange. Physically, technique-wise, play strength, his film is better than it was as a rookie. He's gotten better. He has. If he doesn't figure out the mental issues in terms of assignments and things like that, he's not going to make it long-term as a starter in the league. Right now, the biggest thing holding Cole Strange back is the mental side of the game. He's not seeing it fast enough, and he's not reacting to it fast enough. He's getting baited out of gaps because guys are flashing in front of him and things like that. If he can figure out how to get himself buttoned up in that respect, he's going to be a starting guard in the NFL. He just isn't there yet. On the tackles, Connor McDermott's Connor McDermott. He is who he is. He's not a starting tackle in the NFL.
Right.
We know that. Trent Brown at this point, like the give an F factor with Trent Brown is a problem. I don't know of how much Trent Brown is pulling on the rope anymore at 2-10. Now it's starting to get cold. It's starting to get late in the year. Bumps and bruises. He's got the ankle.
Yeah.
He's back on the injury report with the chest injury.
No, now it's a hand.
Or whatever it is. I think at this point with Trent Brown, and I mean this as a person that's defended him in the past, he has playing time incentives. He has game day roster bonuses in his contract. If he plays a certain amount of games, he's going to get paid. That's where his head's at. He's getting himself to a point where he's active in the game so that he can hit his roster bonuses. Because the way that he's playing is like a guy that doesn't give an F. Like, he just let Khalil Mack on the sack. He didn't even get out of his stance. He just let Khalil Mack run right around him. And it's not competitive. We talked about this last year. Draft one, sign one. All the offseason shows we did about the tackles, they're right back to square one with the tackle position.
Yep.
They need 2 new tackles.
Yep.
And sick. Good planning by the GM.
Not a good spot to be.
Yeah.
Not a good. I say this all the time. Tackle is one of the toughest positions to add in the NFL. Adding a tackle, I don't know, Evan, would you agree with me on this? Adding like a starting caliber tackle, whether that means a guy who can start in the draft or like a free agent who's not Riley Reif, not Calvin Anderson, like this guy is going to start for us, is the second biggest undertaking for an NFL team in an offseason behind quarterback.
It's tough because
I would argue it's easier to get a starting caliber wide receiver than it is a starting caliber
tackle.
tackle.
I mean, definitely just because of the supply at this point.
So you now
tough.
have to add a quarterback, which is the toughest position to add.
Yep.
A tackle, which is the second toughest. And then a tackle again, which is the second toughest. And then you also have to deal with the wide receiver position somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the tackle spot's a big issue, and you look across the league. This is one thing I know Bedard has said on your station a lot, and I agree with his point here. If you look across the league at the best offenses, Philly, San Francisco, Detroit, all those offenses are built up front. Like, they all have great offensive line play. And if you don't fix the offensive line going into next year and you put Drake May behind this current offensive line, I know he's athletic. I know he can move around.
He's going to get sped up again.
He's going to,
we're going to be back in they can draft any quarterback they want. If you're putting them behind Calvin Anderson and Vidarian Lowe as your 2 tackles, we're going to be right back here in 3 years.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
No quarterback is immune to getting sped up.
Yeah.
None.
All right.
Some of them recover better than others, but none's immune to it.
So I got a couple more.
All right.
I put Bailey Zappe on here.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about it.
It just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It just wasn't good enough. Devontae Parker, you are supposed to be a contested catch guy. That's why you're here. Can you win
80-20.
80-20. So he was targeted 5 times in this game. He made 1 out of 5. 20%.
What?
Yeah.
He had like 5 catches?
No, I'm talking about the contested
catch.
Like
Okay,
jump ball down the
I get
field.
what you're saying.
He made that 1 back shoulder catch along the sideline.
That's 20%. That's 80-20.
80-20 in the wrong direction. He's never
80-20,
open.
I think.
He never gets actually open. Everything is in a contested, tight window for the quarterback, and he doesn't even make the jump ball catches either. He had one along the sideline, and I get it's raining. Everybody's dropping passes, but it just goes right through his hands. Like, it's right on his hands, and it goes right through his hands. I can't. These receivers, I mentioned Juju and Henry in this category as well earlier on the show. Those guys just absolutely wear coverage all game long.
There was a chart yesterday somebody put out on Twitter. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it's one of those. This is your kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's
separation against
routes against single coverage, like percentage of routes against single coverage, and facing separation facing single coverage is the other axis. I guess we can't really. Devontae Parker's faced more routes against single coverage than anybody in the league, and he's gotten open less than probably 4 or 5 guys. You see him there in that top quadrant.
Yeah, I've seen the chart.
I will say also on the chart, side note, Demario Douglas, the only guys getting open more than Demario Douglas against single coverage, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Justin Watson, Tank Dell.
Yeah, so you got some positives. But with Devontae Parker, they X-ISO him all the time.
Yeah.
He's X-receiver. They put him on his side of the formation. They X-ISO. They get that press man one-on-one, and he can't get open. Whether it's a slant, whether it's a go, everything's contested. Everything's always, close to an interception as it is close to a reception. It's inefficient, bad, archaic 30 years ago type of offense. Like that's what that is. And they need to upgrade that spot.
Yeah.
Like he can't be the X receiver next year.
He's probably going to be here because they paid him.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that's going to look like. Definitely, a couple people here wanted DeAndre Hopkins in that role, and he's been
people
pretty good, but
a few I heard about.
Yeah,
about that.
It's Zappe clearly likes him. Zappe clearly likes
yeah,
throwing the ball
because
to Parker.
I thought about this last year against Cleveland. I think it was the opening drive of the game. Zappe threw him a jump ball, and Parker made like a ridiculous contested catch.
Okay.
And ever since then, I think he has this like confidence in Devontae.
It's just going to happen again?
Yeah.
So Parker's going to get more chances here down the stretch, and we'll
Yeah.
see what he does, and maybe he turns it around. But Zappe, and Parker also had that comment during the week to Chris Price of the Boston Globe that Zappe throws with more zip than Mac Jones, which was interesting. So those two guys, clearly there's some sort of chemistry there. What it's going to amount to,
a
I guess we'll have to
chemistry
see.
of mid is what it is.
Wow, it's a team employee. Lazar. Yeah, I didn't think Parker was very good. I thought, I don't know, I didn't think he was terrible.
No,
but he definitely wasn't
They're
great.
not listening. It's fine.
Okay. I didn't think he was terrible, but like I going into the game,
he wasn't terrible, but it just was like you're here to make those types of catches.
And for me it was more, and I didn't know the number about the contested catches, so you just said that kind of reframes my point, but it was more like you knew going in Zappe liked him.
Yeah.
He was besides Jacoby, who was just it was the function of the offense. Bailey Zappe targeted Devontae Parker last year more than anybody else, and he targeted him this year in the games he came into more than anybody else when Parker was still in the game.
Yeah.
It's like you're the X receiver. You're the number one. He's the number one receiver right now.
Yeah.
With Kendrick Bourne out, he's the number one. He's that guy. Like you said, he's the X. It's like, dude, it's your job to win the game. It's your job to take this young quarterback and hold his hand and lead him through this game. And he didn't do enough of that. The one that really bothered me was the one on the sideline and he was out. It was the right call. Like he rolls over the defender and his foot, like this is supposed to be an elite body control wide receiver.
Yeah, he also dogs it on the route.
Right.
Jogging down
So that was going to be my thing. I just think overall, put more effort into that play.
Yeah.
That was one where I was like, he's not really like, he supposedly really likes Bailey Zappe. Okay, you want this guy to remain the starter?
Yeah.
Go all out for him. Play for him. There were all these people who were saying, oh, the team hates Mac. They're going to play so much harder for Bailey Zappe. I didn't see it from Parker.
Yeah, no.
Not that he was playing particularly hard for Mac, but I didn't see it for Parker.
For
Zappe.
I was reluctant to put Tyquan on this list because as unfortunate as the deep ball was, and he's got to improve his ball skills there. As unfortunate as that drop was, I was reluctant to put him on the list because he was like the only guy all game long that actually got open a little bit. Just in terms of watching the film, I put up a kind of a little clip, 30 seconds of some routes that he ran in the game. I thought that he was open like 4 or 5 times down the field and probably could have had a pretty big game if the ball had found him, if he had made the catch. I think you're looking at a guy when you add, 39 yards on the end around. If he catches a deep ball, like he might have had over 100 yards in this game if he gets the ball.
Right.
So I was reluctant to put him on the list because of that. But at the same time, like Tyquan to me is like a perfect example of everything that's wrong with their passing offense outside the quarterback. And that is that they have this guy, this 4.28 track athlete that can run like the wind. Do you remember the movie The Replacements?
Of course.
All right, Clifford Franklin?
It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
He's Clifford Franklin.
What if I told you I have a Shane Falco jersey?
That's awesome.
I do.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised. I thought you would roll your eyes at that.
No, I love that movie. It's an amazing movie.
Maybe I'll bring it in next week.
Chicks Dig Scars. I mean, come on.
Chicks Dig Scars, Pain Heals, Glory. No, it's Pain Heals, Chicks Dig Scars, Glory is forever, right?
Yeah, it's corny and it's awful, but it's amazing at the same time.
Those are all the things you hate, though.
It's a football movie. I mean, it helps. It helps that it's a football movie.
Okay. Sorry, we have to do this real quick because I don't think we've ever done this. Top 3 football movies.
Oh, God. Remember the Titans is definitely in the top 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not putting these necessarily in order.
No.
Off the top of my head. Remember Titans is definitely up there. Man.
So here's the thing for me. There's 4 movies that belong.
Yeah, Longest Yard.
Oh, see, that's not my top 3.
I think it's up there.
It's up there. It might be in my top 5. I don't know. It's in my top 3.
Okay. This is tough.
So I have The Replacements at 4.
The Replacements is a great movie.
It's such a good movie, but
it's good.
Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
I love Friday Night Lights, dude. That's
the
such
movie.
A good, the movie. So
the TV show is really good too.
The movie is better than the TV show. That is my hot take. The TV
that
show
is a hot take.
The TV show has nothing to do with football. It's just a drama. There's no football in the show. I watched the show. There's no football.
There's football. All right, which is good.
It's not that much football.
Right.
The movie is about football.
Coach Taylor in the show is much better than the movie.
Oh,
Coach
don't
Taylor.
do Billy Bob Thornton like that.
I'm sorry. He's better.
I don't know.
He's better.
I don't know.
He's better. Okay, Minka Kelly. Like, come on, like prime Minka Kelly.
I'm not saying it's a bad TV show. I am saying as somebody who is watching for football, the movie is better than the show.
I agree with that.
That's my take.
I do agree
and
with that.
And then the third one,
and
this is probably my number one.
Yeah.
Any Given Sunday.
That is a great movie.
The Al Pacino speech.
And Willie Beeman is a great character.
Willie Beeman. So I put this on,
character.
maybe I should do this again. I put this on Twitter a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, who is, I just said, like, I threw it out to people, favorite fictional football player.
Oh, yeah. Willie Beeman.
I said favorite fake quarterback.
Willie
a bunch of people said Taysom Hill, which was very funny, but it was all either Willie Beeman or Alex Moran. Willie Beeman is. Can the Patriots draft Willie Beeman? Will he be like how old now? But,
he'd be like Jaden Daniels, right?
I guess. Yeah, there is some of that.
Willie Beeman's fantastic.
And then honorable mention to Gridiron Gang's a really good movie.
Yeah, Gridiron Gang's. I was gonna say Gridiron
Gang's up there
because that's always on like FX and like those channels. Like
the scene where the Rock comes out and all the pads. Yeah, that's a really good. It's a really good one.
It's a good movie. You don't like that movie?
And you forgot the Water Boy.
Oh, the Water
Boy's up there.
The Water Boy is.
The Water Boy's up there. Do you consider Forrest Gump a football movie?
No,
I don't either. Somebody got mad at me once.
There's one football scene. How's that a football movie?
The one I know.
It's like calling Die Hard a Christmas movie. It's ridiculous.
Well, when I start that, I do say Happy Gilmore's a hockey movie as much as it's a golf movie. But people who are going to say Rudy doesn't do it. It's a good movie, but Rudy,
it's touching, but it's not.
It doesn't do it.
Yeah,
I think the problem is I saw it too young.
Yeah,
and I didn't get it, and so it's forever.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
Waterboy's a good shout.
Waterboy's up there, but no, my top three are Any Given Sunday.
Remember the Titans.
Any Given Sunday. Remember the Titans. Friday Night Lights.
Okay,
and then very, very, very close fourth is The Replacements, which to back to your point.
Okay, so back to my point. Is that Tyquan Thornton is Clifford Franklin. And if people don't know the movie, Clifford Franklin is the fastest man alive, right? I
think he's literally a track runner that they signed to play football.
Yeah, so
right?
he absolutely flies. Like we're talking like 10-second 100-meter type of guy, right? But he can't catch. He doesn't have any hands. So at the end of the movie, they need a big play. And they're like, we need you to just run by somebody and make this catch, and we need this play right now. So they put Stickum on his hands. And
they don't just put Stickum on his hands.
He's out there like this, and it's like dripping down his hands and everything like that. And he ends up making the big catch, and he goes to give the ball back to the referee, and the referee can't get it off his hand.
It's like stuck to him.
Yeah,
I think they get like a hammer and they try or something.
So obviously can't use Stickum, like Jerry Rice did. So you can't use Stickum. But the point is that Tyquan Thornton has all the ability in the world to be a productive NFL deep threat. He's got the speed. He can release at the line of scrimmage like he showed on that one rep. He's got all of the tools to be a legit NFL deep threat. And when I say legit NFL deep threat, I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill, right? Like, let's come down a couple notches. Like
right.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, someone like that who's not a great player.
Can't really catch either.
Right, not a great player, but a productive player when used correctly in the right offense. And to me, Tyquan Thornton is a microcosm of a couple things. One, he doesn't have a quarterback that can get him the ball. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a quarterback that can get him the ball downfield. Two, he's not in an offense that really invites those types of plays. Like, it's not a deep vertical passing offense where there's going to be a lot of volume for him to just run those types of routes. And number three, he makes the same mistakes, whether it's ball skills, route running, whatever, over and over and over again, to the point where, again, we have to go back to Troy Brown and be like, are you coaching him? What are you coaching him on? Are you coaching him on the right things? This is a guy that should be out on the practice field practicing over-the-shoulder catches for 2 straight hours. Like, just that's all he should be doing. Just practicing over and over and over again. And he's got the ability to be a useful player in this offense, and I think the things that are holding him back are consistency. And I think the consistency is not just on Tyquan Thornton. Like, I think that's on everybody. The coaching, the scheme, the quarterbacks. I think everybody is making it so that he's not consistently a threat because his speed plays every single week.
Yeah.
When you turn on the film, he is fast. He is running by people, or he's making people respect it and all those types of things, and they just can't get him the ball. And that I think is a full organizational issue. It's not just on Tyquan Thornton. So that's why I was reluctant to put him on my downs, but he obviously had a big play in the game that was a down.
People in the comments have some movies we forgot.
Like what?
Marshall.
No.
We Are Marshall.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie, but it's not in that tier.
Yeah. And it's also not about football.
Invincible.
No.
Yeah,
definitely not.
For me.
No.
This is. I guess it is a football movie. I don't know why I didn't think of this because this is a good movie. I wouldn't put it in my top 3. Jerry Maguire.
It is. That's a great movie.
Drew Bledsoe's in Jerry Maguire.
He is in Jerry Maguire. I love Jerry Maguire, but that's more like an agent movie than it is a football movie.
Yeah, that could be about any sport. It happens to be football players.
Yeah.
And no, we didn't say draft day for a reason.
Oh, God, no. Draft day's awful. All right, we got to get to these calls. These people have been waiting on hold forever. If he's still there, Eddie is in L.A. What's up, Eddie? Eddie.
Yo,
hey.
What's up, guys?
Thanks for waiting. How you doing?
Nah, appreciate it. Yeah. So what I want to talk about is so obviously every new head coach, new coordinator that come in, they like their own guys in the draft, and seeing how important this draft is going to be for the future of the team. Do you guys think that Kraft already has a plan for who's going to come in, who's going to go out? And because like I said, I think it's really important to know. So you can be prepared for what this team is going to look like in the future, if you guys kind of get where I'm going here.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, Eddie, and it's one that I think about a lot. Thanks for the call and thanks for waiting. We talk about the draft a lot, and we're probably going to talk about the draft here in the second hour a lot. Who's drafting, who they're drafting for, the offense that they're drafting for, all that type of stuff makes this hard to do this right now. Now, we can talk about the prospects, and we will, just in general, about their traits and about their strengths and weaknesses. But, let me give you an example. If you're going to build a Bill O'Brien offense, then Michael Penix is not your guy.
Nope.
Michael Penix is a vertical passer, right? He should be in a bombs-away vertical passing offense like they run in Washington. That's not Bill O'Brien's offense. If you're running Bill O'Brien's offense, then you want the precision guy, right? The guy that can pick you apart underneath, the guy that's going to get the ball out, that type of quarterback.
Ugh, don't make me say who that is.
Who is it?
It's Bo Nix, isn't it?
A little bit.
A
little bit. So that's the difference, right? But with that being said, in terms of the question about the draft too, I think it's also important to remember, not always, but 9 times out of 10, the scouting staff from the old regime still stays on through the draft.
Right.
Because you can't just completely... Is Zoe doing a Zoism over there?
I heard him yelling.
Yeah. You can't just completely start from scratch in January with a brand new scouting staff and a brand new board and a brand new process. So much goes on in the scouting world in the fall, in the season, where guys are on the road, guys are at schools. Matt Groh was at Michigan, Ohio State, for the regular season game. There's so much that goes on in those types of things with area scouts and college scouting directors and things like that, that for the most part, those guys survive it through May. And then the day of the draft is over, if the new GM wants to clean house and start from scratch in that department, he does. And those guys go and find other jobs and catch on elsewhere. So my guess is that even if they do hire a new GM, that guys like Cameron Williams, those types of guys, Cameron Williams, the Patriots college scouting director, he'll probably stay on and at least through the draft if he's not retained beyond that.
Well, sometimes if you hire the assistant GM of a team, he might bring his assistant, who's been working on that stuff, for that team. But it's a fair point.
Really, last thing here on the GM thing, because I think we get this question a lot. We talk a ton about head coaches and head coaching candidates. And GMs are tougher because not everybody knows all of the personnel guys around the league, right? It's a little bit tougher. But the one name that I keep coming back to for GM, and I didn't realize until last week after we did the show that he was here. And that's Adam Peters with the San Francisco 49ers. Adam Peters was with the Patriots for I think it was 6 or 7 years or something like that in the 2000s. I think it was mid 2010s or early, late 2000s, early 2010s. Adam Peters was here for a chunk of time. And I always think about with the Crafts, you look at most of their hires. Pete Carroll was kind of out of nowhere, if I'm not mistaken. That's more of like a Perillo, Fred Kirsch question. But if I'm not,
hadn't he worked for Parcells in the past?
Well, he coached for the Jets, so he's maybe close. But you look at a lot of their other hires. Obviously, Bill was here, right, on Parcells' staff, and then came back as the head coach. So I think in a lot of ways, those guys, they like to get guys that they at least have some sort of familiarity with. And Adam Peters was here for a period of time.
He's the Patriots national scout from 2011 to 2013.
Yeah. And now he's in San Francisco. He's the assistant general manager of the 49ers. He's, John.
Oh, wait. Peters was also with the Patriots. So he was here for a while.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he rose up the ranks here.
He was here from 03 to 08. He was a pro scout from 06 to 08. And then he was here again from 11 to 13.
Yeah. I think he was here that whole time, if I'm not mistaken. And he rose up through the ranks with the Patriots. So he's John Lynch's Nick Caserio macro.
He's the assistant GM.
Yeah. But he has the official. He's not director of player personnel. He's assistant GM.
Right.
So he's got familiarity with the Kraft family from being here, as a low-level guy. He's rose up through the ranks here, then he got big jobs elsewhere, and now he's got the 49ers shine on him, right? He's got that whole thing where he understands how the 49ers have run their operation. So if I had my pick of the league, and you'd said to me, Evan, who do you want the most? Adam Peters is 1-1 for me. That's at the very top of the list, and he's the guy that I would be going after. Other guys like John Robinson, I think, did a good job with the Titans until the A.J. Brown thing.
I mean, that's kind of, other than that, how was the plight? But, yeah.
Who knows who made that decision?
John Robinson got fired for it. So
He did, but did ownership push him to trade A.J. Brown because of the contract? Who knows? That was a very Patriot move, was we're just going to draft your replacement in Treylon Burks. I didn't love it. No one loved it. But he's another guy that was here for a long time, had some really, really good drafts with the Patriots, like the McCourty-Gronkowski draft is his draft. So he's had some good drafting in the past here. Those are a couple guys that you have to keep in mind, and this is why I always say with Gerard Mayo that I think he might stay here in some capacity, if it's not even, it might be head coach. The Kraft family does not usually go that outside the box or outside the nest. Like whoever is gonna run this thing next is you're gonna know the name. Like it's not gonna be somebody that they're not gonna pluck some GM off of some random staff. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna have somebody in mind, and they're gonna have somebody that they have some sort of familiarity with. And I think those two guys would probably be at the front of the line if I had to guess.
Can I give you another name? And this is a guy I've talked about, but I just looked it up and realized he has a connection. Ray Agnew, the assistant GM of the Lions.
Yeah.
He was Patriots' first-round pick.
Yeah.
And this was pre-Kraft. It was in 1990, but he's been here.
Yeah.
I had one more down.
Oh.
Special teams.
Oh.
Bryce Baringer
gave up the punt return.
Bryce Baringer had 2 great punts and then just shanked 5 in a row. They didn't trust Chad Ryland to kick a field goal. They gave up that big punt return. It wasn't good.
So we didn't get to do practice report on PU yesterday because practice was late. Your little tidbit about the kickers, I scoffed at you during practice, and then as always I come back around and I'm like, all right, he's probably onto something there. It was a little interesting that the practice squad kid Michael Wright was kicking in practice.
He was kicking during stretching, and it was Chad Ryland was like behind the goalpost getting the balls.
He was what's it called when they do that in BP in batting practice?
Shagging balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. It does definitely seem like they've lost confidence in Chad Ryland.
Yep.
All right. Let's get back to the phones. Colleen is in Houston. What's up, Colleen?
Hey, guys. So, first of all, the Clifford Franklin comparison is so funny because I made that comparison to my friends and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Great movie.
You need to make your friends watch that movie.
The movie is Rudy. It is Rudy. I know you guys aren't into it, but that's my favorite. Anyway,
it's fair.
My question is leading into, you said you were talking about the draft. I have a billion questions, but I'll just leave it to this one. Why has Jaden Daniels been so underrated so far in the draft? Because he is going to win the Heisman probably, but people still have him in, like, the second round and stuff. And I'm curious why he's not up there with, like, Drake May and Caleb Williams. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. It's a great call. So it's a good question about Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels is your classic riser in a draft, right? Where last year we weren't having conversations about Jaden Daniels at all being a top prospect in the draft. And some people are reluctant with those types of guys that just kind of come out of nowhere and then are all of a sudden a top 5 pick in the draft.
Joe Burrow.
So Joe Burrow did that, and that's the one hand. That's the positive.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was also one of those guys, right? So like anything with the draft, it can go either way.
Right.
So I look at Jaden Daniels as a guy that's really, really improved from this year to last year. So and when I say really improved, he was always a good athlete. He always had the size, the NFL arm talent, the mobility. As a passer, as an actual quarterback, he really improved this year at LSU. So what you have to ask yourself when you're, evaluating a player like that is it circumstantial? Like a guy like Neighbors all of a sudden becomes a star. What led to the improvement? I talked a little bit to some of the LSU guys in the locker room, Jalen Mills, Kayshon Boutte, who played with Jaden Daniels last year. And a lot of those guys said, that he really worked at it in the offseason, that got with the quarterback's coach, fine-tuned his mechanics, worked his butt off in the offseason to get here. So I love that. I think that tells me that this is just real improvement. This isn't all of a sudden he's in a better offense and is lighting up Georgia Southern or something like that. Georgia State, he did light up Georgia State. But I'm intrigued by Jaden Daniels. I am, and my guess is by the time that we're done with this draft process, he will be a first-round pick. Interviews, combine, if he works out, pro days, things like that. Where in the first round, I think media will probably be higher on him than the league. So that'll come down to how high up can he get himself.
Right.
Lamar Jackson was the 32nd pick in the draft. That was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like, he was the second best quarterback prospect in that class easily, and he gets picked 32nd. It made no sense. So we'll see with Jaden Daniels, but that big jump that he made from this year to last year, some people aren't gonna be as quick to move him up the board as others.
Yeah, I get that. I think part of the reason he's lower too is he is a little bit undersized. I think that's something teams are going to look at. Can he be as dynamic as a runner when he puts on the 15 to 20 pounds he's going to have to put on to play quarterback in the NFL? Just you're talking about two guys in Caleb Williams and Drake May that really have two dominant seasons where Daniels was good last year but wasn't this.
Yeah.
It's 2 seasons of evidence versus 1 season of evidence, and that's going to make a difference.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see with Daniels. I think some of the things that he struggles with as a passer still are a lot of the same things that I remember thinking about Justin Fields coming out. We were talking about this.
He's a better passer than Fields was.
Yeah. But we were talking about this a little bit off the air just from like a processing standpoint. NFL defenses are so much different from college defenses because college defenses, for the most part, there are definitely trees and coaches that spin the dial in college. The obviously the Saban, Smart, Venables, like those guys have the coaching chops to coach those types of things with 18, 19-year-old kids. But for the most part, college defenses are stagnant. If they're in too high pre-snap, they're going to be in too high post-snap. If they're in single, if they're in man-to-man looks, they don't spin the dial like NFL defenses do. So a lot of the things that you see, like with Justin Fields coming out, was once he started to face, like in the college football playoff, and he played Alabama, right? And teams like that play match, play Rip Liz and play different, rotations on the back end, things like that. You saw some delay in the processing where he wasn't reacting to it very quickly. And I think Jaden Daniels sometimes has some similar things when you watch some of the SEC games that he played this past season. So that's going to be the big question on him. I know that comes like with baggage. People hear that, about black quarterbacks and they, go a different direction with it. But that's just the truth. Like there's some stuff with his processing that's going to have to improve. Now, some people had similar concerns about CJ Stroud, and he's been maybe
right. It's things that can improve. He just needs to see more football. Like that's most guys.
Yep. All right. Greg is in California. What's up, Greg?
Hey guys, first time, long time. In a season that's been basically pathetic from every standpoint, it's pretty impressive you guys have been able to keep people's interest. So
thank you.
Big fan. But my question was, it seems like I've heard you guys say you don't want Josh McDaniels back next year, correct?
Lukewarm. I don't know how Alex feels about it.
Depends on the scenario. I mean, there's scenarios I'd take him back, but they're not my favorite scenarios.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I don't think we're going to get Caleb Williams, so I'd kind of rather we got Marvin Harrison and brought back Josh McDaniels, because I just feel like Belichick's opinion that he could win with a top 15 quarterback hasn't really been debunked yet, because he's basically had like a bottom 5 quarterback every year since Brady left, it would seem. So I would just be curious if we had like a Marvin Harrison, maybe a better O-line next year with the solid defense we already have, what you guys think like a Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton type of quarterback could do in this offense. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Greg.
Andy Dalton's been out of the league.
Well,
and now
I think he's just talking about like that level of quarterback. Look, I love Josh McDaniels. I've always been a big McDaniels guy. My hesitation with McDaniels is that it's the same system that they're running now, for the most part. The bones of it are the same. And I really just am getting to the point now where I'm concerned that this system is extinct. I think that there's a lot on the quarterback, setting protections, alerts, things like that. I think there's a lot mentally on the receivers that slows guys down in terms of route conversions and options and things like that. And we've seen now they've had to strip it down. Bill O'Brien installed the whole thing in the offseason and in the offseason program in the spring and in training camp. He installed the entire playbook, and now all of a sudden we're 12 weeks in, 13 weeks in, and he has to pull back because they can't execute it. And I just wonder if this offense is extinct. I wonder if there's not enough new agey, I hate using that phrase, but like just concepts that teams are running now to get guys, that thing I was saying earlier about speed and space. And I just don't know if Josh McDaniels is going to innovate his offense. His offense with the Raiders was the same offense he was running with the Patriots at the end. Full back, under center, all the same elements that he ran here in New England, and it didn't work. So it didn't work, and he's talking about having that Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins level quarterback. Like, isn't Derek Carr that guy?
Right, yeah.
And it didn't work with Derek Carr. So in some ways, I'm starting to trend towards, I guess it's a long way of saying this, I'm starting to trend towards like they need a whole new offensive system. Like a guy like Ben Johnson, a guy like my guy in Houston, that of course Slovis, right?
Bobby Slowick.
Thank you. I think they might need that. They might need a whole new offensive system. This system, I think, bogs players down too much. There's too much mental game going on, and only certain guys, on that like that upper level of understanding the game, like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, that type of thing. Those are the guys that are can run an offense like this, and I don't know if the modern quarterback can run this offense. If you draft, you're just talking about Jaden Daniels. Like, Jaden Daniels isn't going to run this type of offense. Like, you want to spread the field. You want to let him be an athlete. You want to let him use his mobility. Like, that's not what this offense is going to do. So those are my hesitations with Josh McDaniels. The two things I would like about Josh McDaniels, even at the end with the Raiders, I thought that their offense made sense and was executed with like the details, like their techniques, their details were pretty good. It looked like an NFL offense in terms of spacing and timing and routes and things like that. So I think that there is a level that we thought Bill O'Brien was going to bring of like professionalism to his offense, and he's not going anywhere. Let's just be honest. Like he's not going anywhere. He's not getting another head coaching job in the league. He's done. As those aspirations are over. So Josh McDaniels, if he remains in coaching, which I'm sure he will, he's going to be an NFL offensive coordinator for the next 20 years because that's all he's got left. So there's that.
No, and there is inherent value with that. But like you said, do you want to kind of, jump charge the offense, and then you might need a different guy?
Yep. All right. Mark is in Connecticut. What's up, Mark?
Evan, I just had two quick questions for you today.
Sure.
So Andrew Callahan, a week and a half ago, reported that he had talked to Pop Douglas and said that he didn't sustain a concussion and that he should be good to go. And then the day after, he gets put in concussion protocol. So where is the miscommunication there? And then also the second one was that Tyquan Thornton, they get him on an end-around reverse, and he goes for 40 yards, 39 to be exact. But why don't they run that play ever again? I mean, the kid's got speed. You need speed out there, and he's your fastest guy. So explain to me those two things, Evan.
Yeah, it's a fair call. Thanks, Mark. Number one on the concussion, and this is not to pick on Andrew. He's a good reporter, a good guy. But I'm always reluctant to go run with stuff that players tell you immediately after the game, because really you don't evaluate a player for injuries until Monday.
Right.
When they come in and they get into the medical room and they get tests done and they get looked at again with concussions too, that's something that might not present itself right away. And then you come in the next day and all of a sudden you got a headache, right? Like, those
right.
are, so that happens a lot with concussions. That's why a lot of times guys will get into concussion protocol on Monday that were not knocked out of the game. Like, they might play through it during the game because they don't think anything of it, and they come in Monday morning, all of a sudden they don't feel right, and they're in concussion protocol. So Douglas, I talked to him after the game too, in New York. Big smile on his face, like, Pop, like same, all normal DeMario Douglas, like big smile, everything, happy, relatively after the loss, and he looked fine, and I'm sure he come in the next day, and then all of a sudden it's not fine, and that's where it's at. So, not to pick on Andrew or his reporting, I just think with those types of things, it's sometimes there's a delayed fuse.
Yeah,
especially with concussions, that you have to kind of give it a day and see how a guy's going to bounce back. We talked a lot about Tyquan already. Like that, I'm with Mark. Like that's totally fair. They find a play to unlock him a little bit. They run it once a game. It feels like those types of plays. You're not going to run an end around 10 times, right? Like it's not one of those things. But ideally, like you run it once or twice, you get the defense to respect the motion, and then you run something off of the motion. And I think that's
right.
Sort of the thing that you were talking about earlier about sequencing plays and complementary plays. It doesn't seem like they're doing that at a high level right now.
They kept running that orbit motion with Tyquan and just running off of it, and the Chargers were just jumping them.
Yeah.
Like they're just sitting on the run. At certain points, like, you got to throw the ball out to Tyquan.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting on this, and he's going to have room on the outside, and they just never did it. So things like that were weird.
Yeah, it's a fair point about Tyquan, though. His usage, I think, is again, I'm not saying that he would be a 1,000-yard receiver if he was being used better. I'm just saying he would be better than what they're getting out of him if he was being used a little bit better. All right, a few emails, and then we'll talk about the Steelers here for a second, and we'll give you your 5 minutes on Army Navy at the end as well, Alex. So this emails, have we addressed this yet? I don't know. Barton Poland emails us this all the time about how about Michael Penix. I think we talked about this. I think I might have read this email, but I don't know where Barton Poland's getting his rankings from. I don't really look at like other guys' rankings this time of year too much, but he's claiming that in terms of Michael Penix, Mel Kiper has him as QB8. And Dane Brugler has him as QB7, and we have him as QB4. And so where's the disconnect is the question.
So I would say Dane Brugler also has J.J. McCarthy's QB3.
Yeah.
So he's out.
Dane Brugler's out.
Kiper, just quarterback rankings are notoriously wrong. Like, he's never been good on quarterbacks.
Yeah, I have some thoughts that I probably shouldn't share on the air.
I know exactly where you're going.
Let me put it to you this way. Mel Kiper's favorite quarterback in this draft is Drake May.
Yep. And who was it he said was a good runner who, like, couldn't run?
I just remember, I don't remember if it was last year. First of all, Mel Kiper, like, Kenny Pickett is like his favorite quarterback prospect. Like, he gushed about Kenny Pickett. And he also...
You want to know his top 10 quarterbacks from last year?
Yeah.
One, Will Levis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was Will Levis. I was trying to think of it, and it's just like... Yeah, I mean, this guy...
Look, legend of the game. Legend of the game.
He's the reason why the draft media coverage is relevant.
Yes, I don't want to come on here and just bash Mel Kiper, but again, Will Levis. Why might there be that disconnect? Maybe, I'm looking at Michael Penix as a player. I'm just looking at what I see on the field. I have no access to his medical information. I have not heard anything that is not public about his medical condition between his knees and his shoulders. Maybe those guys, maybe Brugler and Kiper are out on it because of the medical things, or I'm kind of under the impression that until we find out there's an issue, I'm going to operate as if there's not an issue. Until we get to if we get to the combine and they say, hey, his knees won't hold up, he's not going to be my QB4 anymore. He's not going to be a first-round pick anymore. I'll say that right now. But we don't have that information yet, so I'm not going to factor it in. That's probably part of the reason for the disconnect. Some people don't like older prospects. I frankly don't really care when a guy has a floor as high as Michael Penix does. The other thing I would say, Evan, for the two of us is I had Zach Wilson, what was it, QB6, QB7?
Yeah, I had him
in
as
21.
I had him as 4. I had it Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Wilson, Mac.
I had Lawrence, Fields, Mac, Lance, Trask, Wilson.
Zach Wilson's better than Kyle Trask.
Is he?
But I was wrong about ranking him ahead of Mac.
The point,
and Trey Lance.
The point being, we've gotten this right once or twice before.
Yeah, no, we've been on it.
We've been, and look, maybe again,
and also like Trey Lance Hive, I still believe.
You still believe in Trey. You loved yourself in Trey Lance.
I still believe Trey Lance.
And again, maybe things change. Maybe more information comes out by the time we get to the end of this. We say, hey, like Penix has 2 bad knees. We're out. It's been proven. As of right now, I just don't think you can hold it against the kid. And maybe these guys, maybe Kiper does have the information. I don't, so I'm not going to pretend I do.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't know those QB rankings existed, and Barth also claims that there's like sourced stuff in some of these rankings that the league is not as high on Michael Penix as everybody else. I maybe that's the case. Like, I'm not trying, again, like same thing I said about Andrew. Like, I'm not trying to rip on people's reporting. Right. I think that could be the case, but in my mind, and this is somebody that doesn't watch college football every single weekend like you do as a degenerate. I have watched Michael Penix like 3 or 4 times so far this season. Every single time I've watched him, that guy is a dog. Like he is going after the opponent. Like, he is taking it to USC. He's taking it to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. Like, that Pac-12 championship game was a high-scoring, back-and-forth offensive football game, and he made more plays than the other guy.
Yep.
Who, if that's what their rankings are, Mel Kiper and Todd, or whoever the other people were, Dane Brugler, they probably have Bo Nix ahead of him then, if he's QB 8 in their rankings, and he outplayed Bo Nix like head to head.
Right.
So
against a better defense, Oregon's defense is much better than Washington's defense.
And so that's the Pac-12 championship game. Now he's going to be in the college football playoff.
Right.
They're playing
Texas.
Yeah. So he's
going
to go
a decent defense.
So he's going to go up against Quinn Ewers head to head.
Yeah.
Who's another guy that people really like. So if he outduels Quinn Ewers and then he outduels everybody else's guy,
and
JJ
then
McCarthy,
it's either JJ McCarthy or he tears up the Alabama defense.
At what point are we going to sit here and say, "Oh wow, this guy's just beating everybody in his path"?
Right.
And I would also say, because I'm coming around on Penix. I am.
I love it.
Because of 2 reasons. One, that was a quality that I feel like we all ignored with Mac, was that intangible, because you can't quantify it. And we're
Right.
such analytical guys that we just want to think about the film and the metrics. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No. We just want to think about it like from like a trait scouting type of perspective. And not saying we're scouts, okay? Don't come at me about that. But we think about it that way. And we don't, like you said earlier, we don't know the guy. We're not interviewing people.
Right.
We don't know them on that level like these scouts do and these guys in front offices do. And with Mac, we never really answered the question of like, well, we did, but I think we ignored it. Adversity and how he's going to handle that. We never really thought about, when he gets into a close game, how he was going to handle that. Penix has checked all of those types of boxes.
Yeah.
He's had injuries. He's bounced back from them. He's been on bad teams at Indiana that he made competitive. They were a top 25 team with Penix
It's like the only time they've ever been good.
Yeah.
That's not an easy program to make good.
Yeah. And he's bounced back from all of it. And now he's going toe-to-toe with a really good Washington offense. No, Adunze, those guys can play.
I want to talk about that in a second, but keep going.
And, well, you're loving this, so you want me to keep going.
Yeah.
He's done all of that, and he continues to pass every single test. He's going toe-to-toe and beating Caleb Williams. He's going toe-to-toe and beating Bo Nix. Now he's going to go to the college football playoff and probably beat Texas. Like, but he might.
He might. Yeah, no, he might. It's going to be a toss-up game, but yeah.
At what point do we sit there and say, like, this guy is he's a competitor, and he's got the physical tools. Like, I'm not saying that he's, one of those try-hard guys that's just a college football, Johnny Manziel type.
Right.
Like, he's got all of the arm talent in the world, too. He's a good prospect. He is. Is he perfect? No. He's got an injury history. He's a lefty, which I hate. There's some things that, off his back foot at times that – is that going to translate to the league when the windows are a little bit tighter and things like that? He's going to have to throw from a more sturdy base more often. But in general, I really am starting to come around on him because he's a winner. Like, and not in the Mac Jones sense where he's a front-running winner in college.
No, I said it last week, DAWG dog.
Yeah.
That I will line up behind that guy going to battle any day. I will run through a wall for that guy any day. And there's value in that. Because I see a lot of people in the chat saying it. Oh, he's got three top 100 wide receivers, and he does.
Yeah.
He does. Show me a quarterback in this draft that doesn't have, it's just weird this year. Show me a quarterback in this draft that does not have significant wide receiver talent around him. Caleb Williams has 3 guys who will be top 150 picks this year and a guy who will go in the top 100 next year. Jaden Daniels has 2 top 100 picks. J.J. McCarthy has the best running back in college football, a top 100 wide receiver, and never throws the ball. Bo Nix has 2 top 100 wide receivers. Yeah. Quinn Ewers probably is the best supporting cast of anybody.
Yeah.
That Texas group with Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, and Jatavian Sanders, all 3 of those guys should be gone by pick 50.
Yeah.
The one exception is Drake May.
Yeah.
He has Tez Walker, a good running back in Amari Hampton, and that's kind of it. He probably is the least amount of talent around him of anybody, but you don't get to do, first of all, as good as all these groups are, you don't get to say, well, Mac had all the talent, so look at, none of these guys have the talent Mac did. No quarterback in college history has had or probably will ever have again.
Maybe besides Joe Burrow.
All right, fair. But, like, Ewers is the closest in this class. Again, I think all 3 of those guys are elite. And Jonathan Brooks, who's hurt now. But if you don't want a quarterback that doesn't have elite talent around him, you're either a Drake May guy or you're not taking a quarterback this year. That's that's the reality. And if that's what you want to say, fine, I'll wait for a quarterback to show up who's faced some adversity. You can go get Shadur Sanders next year who's throwing to Travis Hunter, or you can go get whoever goes to Ohio State, whoever transfers to Ohio State, who's going to have a ton of talent around him, probably Cam Ward. This is just with the transfer portal now, you're not going to get these quarterbacks. You're not going to get Cam Newton at Auburn in 2010, who was throwing to, I think Sammy Coates was his best receiver. Like, the majority of those guys never played in the NFL.
Yeah.
You're not going to
Sammy Coates barely played in the NFL.
You're not, I think it was Sammy Coates even on that team?
I don't know.
I got to look. But the point being, you're not going to get these quarterbacks anymore that just elevate a ton of scrubs around him. The way the transfer portal works, every quarterback is going to have a loaded team around him. What you have to do is look at what the quarterback does independently of the receivers. How does he handle pressure? Where is he placing the ball? How is he reading the field? That has nothing to do with the receivers. By the way, Sammy Coates was not on that team. Cam Newton's top receivers, Darvin Adams, Terrell Zachary, Cody Burns, and the late Philip Lutzkirchen. So
but how do you know that he's the late Philip Lutzkirchen?
Because he died. It was like a famous thing.
Oh.
He died that year. And then Michael Dwyer was the running back. He played in the NFL very briefly. But you're not going to get that guy anymore is the point. If these guys all are going to have loaded rosters around them because they're building super teams through the transfer portal with NIL, it's not – you don't get to say he has too much talent as a disqualifying characteristic. And I'm saying this for the guys I don't like. I'm saying this for Bo Nix. I'm saying this for J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
You have to actually go watch the quarterback and watch what he does independently of the talent around him.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Steelers game. I you know what? I take that back. I hate the fact that we reserve like 15 minutes a show now to actually talk about the next game. Like that does bother me, but that's where we're at. So a couple of things about this Steelers game in this spot here for the Patriots. Number one, this game, I think maybe the biggest indictment out of anything on this season, when you really get down to brass tacks about why we are Rich Eisen talking about Bill Belichick's job being on the line. The Patriots, the one thing post-Brady that the Patriots were still held, that one card that they still held in their hand, was that if they played a backup quarterback or a sucky quarterback, they would still win the game. They would win, regardless of Cam Newton, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappe, whoever was starting under center, they could still beat, the Jared Goffs of the world without Amon-Ra St. Brown last year with Detroit, to the Sam Ellingers and the Gardner Minshews and like those types of guys.
Can I give you the list?
Yeah.
So here are all the quarterbacks the Patriots have beaten since the bye week in 2021 from Chris Mason. This is the who's who of quarterbacks in the NFL. Some real great names on this list. Zach Wilson 3 times. The Urban Meyer version of Trevor Lawrence. Mitch Trubisky, Jared Goff, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Ellinger, Colt McCoy, a combo of Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson, and Josh Allen. So there's one legitimate quarterback on that list. Jacoby Brissett's a quality win. The rest of those guys they should beat.
Yeah. So
you're just going to let that one go?
Yeah, because it is terrible.
You thought about that for a second.
The point is,
I like Jacoby Brissett.
That they used to win this game in their sleep.
Yeah.
This was a game that you could chalk up as a W. And last year, frankly, they inflated their win total by winning games like this. Two Zach Wilson games, a Sam Ellinger game, those types of games were why they ended up actually getting to 8 wins and one win away from the playoffs. So this year, they have lost the ability to eat. They didn't even beat Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito.
A UDFA third-string quarterback that still lives with his mom. And they couldn't even beat him.
Doesn't Brock Purdy live with a roommate? It's not his mom, but there was something where his parents had to co-sign his lease.
In his defense, San Francisco is extremely expensive.
I know, but I'm just saying.
So Tommy DeVito, nope. Gardner Minshew, L.
Yeah.
These types of games used to be in their sleep. Chalked up W's for the Patriots. So this is another one. Last year, they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh with Mitchell Trubisky as the starting quarterback, 17-14 in week 2.
Yep.
Nelson Aguilar had the game of his life.
Yep.
Best Nelson Aguilar game in his tenure with the Patriots.
Gunnar Olszewski fumbled the punt. That was the big play in that game, right?
Yep.
Late in that game.
So they won this exact game last year. Trubisky and the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
And I think Najee Harris didn't play in that game, right? Wasn't he out for? Because he might not play tonight or tomorrow night.
I think he did play.
Somebody big was out for them on. I'm going to look. Somebody big was out for them on offense.
The point being that they have fallen so far. The Patriots have this Patriots team that they might legitimately.
No, they did have Najee Harris.
They might legitimately lose to Mitch Trubisky tomorrow night.
Oh yeah.
Which I think a lot of fans would say, please lose, and I get that.
Chase Claypool had 4 catches.
But the point is it still stands. So they should be able to dominate Mitch Trubisky and win this football game. And the reason being, one, they make Mitch Trubisky sit in the pocket and make throws.
So I was going to say,
they can't do that.
Last year, and Devon Godchaux talked about this yesterday, if it's not there for Trubisky, he will run and he can hurt you doing that.
Yeah.
They held Mitch Trubisky to 1 carry for 7 yards last year. He threw the ball 33 times.
Yeah.
You don't want Mitch Trubisky throwing the ball 33 times.
So last year, and I wrote about this in Game Plan. It's up on Patriots.com right now. They ran a lot of drop 8 coverage last year. So they would rush 3 guys in like the mush rush, and sometimes they would let Judon go after him. But like for the most part, the idea of the rush was to keep him in the pocket. And then they would have 8 guys in coverage and just kind of make him read out the coverage and find guys. And obviously Trubisky's not going to be able to do that at a very high level. So that they have a plan against Trubisky. And then I would also say on the other side of the ball to talk about the offense a little bit, because this offense right now, I can't pick them in any game because of how the offense is playing. But offensively, the Steelers are really good defense. They're 6th in DVOA. They're 9th in EPA allowed. They're really, really good defense. Top 10 defense in the NFL by pretty much every metric. They got great players. TJ Watt. I think, Cam Hayward. Alex Highsmith is maybe one of the most underrated edge rushers in the league. With that being said, the Steelers, and it's different. It's different from the Dick LeBeau, Blitzburg, Cover 3 Steelers. They don't run that system as much anymore. But the Steelers, they do what they do defensively. Under Tomlin, they've never been a big game plan team. So Tomlin's a Tampa 2 guy. Comes from the Tony Dungy tree with the Bucks. He's a Tampa 2 guy. So he runs a lot of Tampa 2. Terrell Austin brought a lot more man coverage, like Patriot-style stuff with Brian Flores. So they basically have a combination of man coverage, which they run a lot more now. They're 5th in the league in man coverage rate, and Tampa 2. Like, those are their 2 coverages. The Patriots should know what's coming offensively. They should know that they're on early downs. They're going to get some sort of Tampa 2 coverage zone, which is, cover 2. And then they're going to get man-to-man on 3rd down. And the question is, will Bill O'Brien, will he actually scheme some stuff up in the drop back pass game this week? Like, will he actually not just run 2 go routes on the outside and have Bailey Zappe throw a 50-50 ball, which we just prove is more like 80-20 in favor of the defense, to Devontae Parker? Or are they going to actually be able to scheme some things up and manipulate coverage and get guys open, because they're going to know what coverages Pittsburgh is going to play? So schematically, X's and O's wise, the Patriots should be able to move the ball a little bit in this game for that reason. But the big but, other than themselves being just what they are, this Pittsburgh defensive front is legit one of the best in the league. So are they going to be able to block it? TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, their other defensive tackles, really underrated player. He's good inside as well. This is as good of a front as they're going to face all year, and there's a chance that Bailey Zappe's sacked like half a dozen times in this game and is running for his life.
And the other thing you don't have, look, as good as Khalil Mack was last week, there were some times Bailey Zappe kind of ran away from him.
Yeah.
You're not running away from TJ Watt.
And there's also like Khalil Mack, which I think was, I didn't mention this earlier. The other frustrating part about what Khalil Mack did to me is Khalil Mack is the only guy they have on that line.
Right, Bosa's out.
Bosa's out.
Yeah.
They don't have any guys on the interior.
Tui Pelotu, the rookie, is a nice player.
He's fine.
He's not.
He's fine.
He's not Bosa, but he's a good. I wouldn't say they have nobody. He's a guy you got to worry about. I think he's a nice player. I think he's a pretty good player.
But besides the point, this Pittsburgh team's got like 3 or 4 guys.
He's not Alex Highsmith.
No.
And then the other thing, and you kind of talked about this before, is a lot of the simplified concepts they're running, and you talked about the digs and the crossers in the middle of the field, like in that intermediate part of the field. That's a potential field day.
Yeah.
Right, for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So you got to – this is not a game. Minkah Fitzpatrick, as the quarterback, you cannot drop your eyes against the Steelers, because you need to know where Minkah Fitzpatrick is before you throw the ball every single time, because if he is on the half of the field where you're throwing, he's going to have a shot to jump the route.
Yeah.
He is. He's just that good.
Yeah,
so
he is great.
As good as this rush is, you can't forget about Minkah Fitzpatrick on the back end and just kind of be throwing blindly against pressure, because Fitzpatrick's going to pick off multiple passes if you do that.
Yeah, they're a great pass rush with a ball-hawking secondary. That's how I would describe the Steelers.
Which is dangerous. That's a dangerous combination.
Yeah, and they have a good defense. And so this game, I picked 13-6 Pittsburgh. Like, that's the type of game it feels like again. I just can't envision there being a lot of offense in this game.
I think the Steelers score on defense.
It's possible.
I think they score on defense and they'll get their one touchdown drive off. I think the Patriots turn the ball over multiple times in this game.
So then it'd be more like 20-6.
So I think that point total's higher, but we're gonna look like this could be one of those games. And how many of these games have the Patriots had the last few years? Are like they give up 21 points, but they only give up 180 yards of offense, or something like that.
Or it's like really defensive points. It's only 14 because
right.
it's a pick
yeah,
six
exactly,
or
something like that.
Yeah, I will say for Bailey Zappe, I kind of ragged on him a little bit, but the one he didn't turn the ball over, and he had that one throw over the middle that we mentioned that it tipped, and then the safety tipped off the safety as well. It's tipped twice. That was the closest one. But other than that, he really didn't put the ball in harm's way all that often in this game, or this past game. So that was a big step forward for Mac Jones. Like Mac Jones turned the ball over like crazy. At least Bailey Zappe wasn't turning the ball over like crazy.
Again,
I don't know.
I'm
trying to give him something.
No, this is kind of a weird take I had the other day, but I thought of this. Do you want a silver lining for this season at the quarterback position, Evan?
We found out.
I have on top of that, it's fair, but on top of that. Following Tom Brady was an impossible task. And I mean, Cam Newton, but I mean, it's the long-term guy, right? Cam Newton was never going to be, he was, 32 years old? He was never going to be the quarterback here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Being the guy tasked with getting the organization back to the place they were with Brady was a monumental task. And even when Mac Jones was good at the beginning of his career, how many times did we hear, well, Brady would have done this, Brady would have done that? How many times did you give your take? Well, he's not Tom Brady, which again, congratulations on snuffing that one out.
You love that take.
It's such
That's your favorite
brave take, Evan.
That's your favorite
take.
That
Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. Following Tom Brady, impossible task.
Yeah.
Following these two guys, when we're talking about, well, he didn't turn the ball over. Yeah, they got shut out, but he didn't turn the ball over. It was good quarterback play.
I didn't say it was good. I said he didn't turn the ball over.
You haven't. Other people are saying, oh, no, look, Zappe didn't turn the ball over, and he ran away from a couple potential sacks. Good, progress. It's going to be next guy's going to hit a 10-yard in cut and then come back on the next play and throw a 15-yard back shoulder up the sideline, and we're going to be fitting him for a red jacket. It's if you want some silver lining.
I mean, I'll go back a step because no disrespect to Drew, right? They if Drew Bledsoe walked through this door right now, we'd be happy to have a quarterback.
If Drew Bledsoe walked through that door, I'd be ecstatic. I've been doing this for 10 years. He's my first ever favorite football player. I've never gotten to talk to him. I'm kind of bummed by that.
I'm not saying
the door just opened. I just had oh my god, that
all the way from Washington.
Yeah, really.
No,
Oregon now. Lives in Oregon.
Oh, he lives in Oregon.
Or that's where the winery is. I assume he lives.
Okay. Not I mean, as a football player, obviously, but before Drew Bledsoe, that was kind of the Patriots. Steve Grogan was okay. They had pockets of okay quarterback
play. Steve
play.
Grogan wore a neck roll. Don't disrespect Steve
I'm just
Grogan.
saying, in general, they had pockets of good quarterback play at times from guys like Grogan. But in general, when Drew Bledsoe got here, even though Drew Bledsoe had his flaws, the fact that he was anywhere near as good as he was, people were like, oh, what is this?
He was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, this is incredible. And that's how it's going to feel for the next guy here. He's not going to be Brady, obviously, so he's probably going to be closer to Drew Bledsoe, hopefully.
Yeah, well, that's what we all thought Mac would be Drew Bledsoe.
Well, Drew Bledsoe had a much bigger arm.
Say a palate cleanser is what these last couple of years have been, a palate cleanser at the quarterback position.
All right, before we wrap.
Even people chanting for Zappe on Sunday after a handoff. What are we doing?
They're just trying to get any sort of excitement, anything to cheer.
I for Taekwon then. He made the play.
I give that crowd so much credit, man. Pouring
rain,
I
do too.
40 degrees, terrible conditions, terrible football team, and they were a lot of those guys, they waited it out. They tried to wait it out.
Those are the real fans, and when the team does get good again, that's the thing about going to a game like that. You go because when the team gets good again and everybody jumps back on the bandwagon. I was there for the 6-0 game against the Chargers.
In the pouring rain.
And the freezing cold. That's why you go to that game.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up in a couple minutes. But I told you I'd give you 3 minutes on Army Navy. I told you I'd give you 3 minutes on Army Navy.
Yeah,
Army Navy's happening here at Gillette on Saturday. Radio Row on Friday, right?
Yep,
right?
Radio Row in Boston on Friday.
Big deal, Radio Row on Friday.
Events all day in the Boston area on Saturday leading up to the game.
What do you got? Go ahead.
Yeah,
this is your time to shine.
I went last year in Philly. The Patriots were nice enough to kind of make that happen, to kind of get a vibe for what the game is, and it is the most unique football environment I have ever been in. And I'm not necessarily saying it's like I covered a Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's the best. Like covering a Super Bowl is still the top for me. But I will say a lot of these games now, and I don't mean this as a Patriots thing. I mean this as like a league-wide and really sporting events as a whole.
Yeah.
You go to these big games, people shelled out $10,000 for a ticket. They're there for the status symbol. They're not maybe fans of the game. It's not you don't get a ton of these big game, big environments anymore. You go to Army-Navy, that place is going to be banged out. Like every seat in Gillette Stadium is going to be full. There's not going to be people up in the concourse. No, they're sitting there watching the game. Every single person wants to be there. Every single person is living and dying on every play. Every single person knows the game of football and understands what is going on. It is such an outstanding football crowd, and the environment is electric. In the way the game goes, and I know, Evan, they're not throwing the ball all over the yard, although they throw more now. They run a modified version of the triple option with spread concepts.
They run a modified version. I'm sorry, you're on a roll.
So
I'm not going to rain on your parade.
The way this game works is it really, and some of the players and coaches talked about this when we talked to them last week.
There's a seal here. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I promise. Go ahead.
Every year this game's decided by one play. But you don't know when and how the play is going to happen. So last year was 2. What
was the final score last year?
20-17.
That's pretty high scoring.
It was the first time the over hit in like 16 years, and because of overtime. But you had like
yourself.
But here's the thing: it's like if you're somebody who likes it was first ever overtime game. If you're somebody, those like those movies where you spend the first half of the movie waiting.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of just build up, and then the second half is like boom.
Yeah.
Or like those songs like Bob O'Reilly, right? Where you have that long intro where you're just kind of waiting that they hit you with it.
I always fast forward through the intro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, of course you do, because you hate fun. Army-Navy, there's this build up and anticipation. Everybody's on the edge of their seats, and boom, block punt for a touchdown. Boom, fumble on the goal line, and it's just the emotions of it are so outstanding. I'm really disappointed you're not going, because I think if you went, you would understand why this game's so special. So I encourage everybody, even if you don't have tickets, there's all these fan fests going on around Gillette Stadium. They'll have stuff going on that day. College game day will be here in the morning. Come down. There's obviously a bunch of places up at Pat's Place you can watch the game. I'm sure there's other bars in Boston, elsewhere, doing watch parties. Try to get somewhere where the game is the focal point and experience the energy that comes with this game, because it truly, I've been to a lot of sporting events in my life. I have never seen the kind of just anticipatory energy that comes with this game. It is special, and it's a bucket list item for a lot of people, not just me. And having gone last year, I truly understand why, and it is special.
All right, so there's your Army-Navy minute. I'm not going to rate on the parade. I'm not going to do it, so I'm going to leave it at that. But I have Marine. We're pro Navy, right? We're Navy. Yeah, so I go with Marine on this one.
Okay.
Because, he's a Marine, so he doesn't really have, a direct, dog in the fight. But the Marine Corps is, like, technically Navy.
Navy, yeah.
So we'll go.
Well, it's also, we got Bill Belichick, Bob Sosey, like.
Wow.
That's what we got. Bill Belichick.
That's how you know I'm a really big, my knowledge of the armed forces is vast. I always do that with, because it's wide receiver corps. Or corpse, I always go back and forth on that one too.
So I'll say this,
a little different. It's a little different.
I'm rooting for a good game, which I know people roll their eyes at.
Shocker.
I do have my cousin's husband is in the Navy, so that's generally where I lean. One player in specific I'm looking at is Anton Hall. He's a running back for Navy. He had the fumble last year that cost them the game, and he was distraught, and their coach got fired, and people kind of talked about it. He kind of put that on him, and Coach Ken had been at Navy for 16 years. It was this real monumental moment. You talk about the stories and the people involved in this game. I want to see Anton Hall just have a monster game. That's what I'm rooting for.
All right, so there's your Army-Navy. I gave you like 4 minutes on
You did. You were very nice.
I was very generous. Alex and I will be back next week, probably back on Thursday next week with the week going back to normal. Patriots Unfiltered is going to be coming up here in a couple of minutes, so don't go anywhere, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.